this is the slide that everybody wants to talk about, which is the ARIA-E incidence rate. So I'm going to kind of walk you through this because I like numbers. The first thing I'm going to show you is that the denominator for APOE4 carriers is 620 out of 898. That means that the overwhelming majority of the sample were APOE4 carriers. I say this to you because the 201 study had fewer APOE4 carriers, and therefore when you see this, that was always suggesting that we would have differential effects or concerns about safety. And the answer is no, we do not have differential concerns about safety. If you take the APOE4 carriers, that 620, and break it down, you see that non-carriers only had an ARIA-E incidence rate of 5.4%, and heterozygotes only had an ARIA-E incidence rate of 10.9%, and that 15% was driven a lot by the homozygotes. When you look at it in totality, the ARIA-E rates were mild or to moderate radiographically, which I'll show you in another slide, and were clinically asymptomatic 78% of the time. When they were symptomatic less than 3% of the time, and it was a mild, which we'll talk about, and it would include headache, visual disturbance, and some confusion. Another thing we want to think about is when does the time to event analysis, when does the ARIA rate occur? And the answer is in lecanemab's treatment, 90% of them occurred within the first 180 days, and a majority of them were in the first 90 days. So we can predict when patients will have if they're going to have it, it'll be in the first 90 to 180 days. An important other thing is that regardless of the APOE4 carrier status, the majority of them resolved. 54% in 90 days and 81% in 120 days. So we know, again, when are the ARIA events likely to occur, ARIA-E events likely to occur, and when are they likely to resolve? Now let's spend a minute talking through the slide. Again, a lot of numbers in front of you. So you see here that the denominator is 898. The ARIA-E rate for the numerator is 113. And if you look at the radiographic severity, that on the right, on the middle right, that's 37, 66, and 9. That means that the overwhelming majority of the ARIA events were mild or moderate in radiographic severity. And clinically, when they were symptomatic, only 25% were clinically symptomatic, mild to moderate, 10, 12, and 3. So again, the majority of the sample were mild to moderate in clinical severity and mild to moderate in radiographic severity. And when you actually look at in the APOE4 carriers, you see the same thing, that 98 out of 620 had an ARIA-E related event, and the majority of them were either low, 9.2% for homozygote or 1.7% for heterozygote. Again, low numbers, and so I want to point out to you that it is mild to moderate radiographically, mild to moderately clinically, and is related to APOE4 carrier status. Microhemorrhages, or ARIA-H, is a little different. As I said before, if you did not have an ARIA-E event, the microhemorrhage rate, or ARIA-H, was essentially unchanged from placebo. And when it did occur, 17% versus 9% in the placebo group it occurred, and that most of them were clinically asymptomatic. As you see, symptomatic ARIA-H was only 1.4% of the samples in lecanemab group versus 0.2% in the placebo group. So again, very minimally